Trending in China, where we dive into the latest buzz around the Chinese economy and beyond.
Like I had a big sale before I went, and I gave all this stuff to my friends. The other stuff, it went in the trash. So, I was all in. I put in like all my chips, and I was like, I'm going to Jingdezhen. I'm gonna try to stay, as long as I can. I'll do whatever I can, whatever I have to do. This is so far the best place and the smartest place. I can always tell when there's like a master that comes up, because they never say anything, but the way they analyze it and the things that they're looking at is something that only a master I know would look at it, and I start sweating. People here in Jingdezhen can spend their entire life studying a craft and never become a master craftsman, because it's so much more difficult to get to that level of perfection and understanding of the form and the shape and just all the elements of everything. And that's what drives me to become better. I think it's a great place to come to. You can make a home here. It's not here waiting for you.
Hello and welcome to Trending in China. I'm your host, Yolanda Lu. In our previous episodes, we have savored the culinary heritage of Anhui with an Irish chef and explored the fusion of tradition and technology in Hangzhou. Today, we are diving into the porcelain capital of China, Jingdezhen, a city where centuries of artistic tradition are constantly reimagined through innovation. We are excited to have with us Michael May, an American ceramic artist who has been blending cutting-edge technologies like 3D printing with traditional pottery techniques here in Jingdezhen. He's part of the growing community of Jing Piao, foreign expats living in Jingdezhen, who have made this city their creative home. Welcome, Michael.
Hello. It's great to be here. Thank you.
And I'm also delighted to introduce our co-host, Belinda Chen, a journalist who has been based in Jiangxi for the past year, who is gonna bring her fresh perspective on this fascinating region. Welcome, Belinda.
Hello, Yolanda.
Hello, thank you for joining the show. So, my first question to you, Michael, could you introduce yourself to our audience and what brought you here to Jingdezhen?
Yeah, that's great. My name is Michael May. I'm actually from Oklahoma City in Oklahoma, like the central Midwest of the United States. I got my bachelor's in ceramic art there, and a minor in I think art history or something at the time. And then after that I went to Korea for 3 years and I studied traditional ongi techniques at the university for my MFA. And then I went back to the States for a couple years. I started doing a lot of production pottery. My friend started a studio, but we did production and we taught classes, and he had little events and stuff that went on there. So I helped out for a couple years, and then I decided to just come to Jingdezhen to try to start my life if I could.
What exactly in Jingdezhen that attracted you at that time?
Mainly just the pottery. Jingdezhen's the entire city is in relation to pottery, and I think that's what attracts the majority of people. Like wherever you go, there's some kind of a studio, or there's a kiln, or there's a place somebody's taking classes or somebody's painting, and we have streets that are dedicated to each aspect of ceramics. Like I introduced to an English artist the other day. He was like, "Oh, do you know anything about where I could buy some paintbrushes?" And I was like, "Well, you got to go to Brush Street." And he's like, "What's Brush Street?" So I showed him, and it's like a street. There's 50, 60 shops. Some are restaurants. There's a couple car dealerships or something there, but then the rest, it's all people who make handmade paintbrushes. And it depends on if you're doing the overglaze or if you're doing like the Qinghua or Yoshachai, Yoshangchai, whatever it is. Like each of these stores is specific to that type of painting style, to that type of paintbrush. So I think with like that kind of the atmosphere, that's what kind of like drew me here. I was in a spot similar in Japan during my undergraduate in the summertime. I apprenticed at a studio, Ikutoan, in Naha, Okinawa. It's like a 300-400-year-old studio, just from tradition to tradition, like passed down. And the whole neighborhood was very similar to that, but on the scale of Jingdezhen, I mean, it's the entire city. It's not quite comparable, I think, in any way. So that's why I thought, like, I wanted to create a pottery studio to make stuff, but you can do it anywhere in America. I could start, but it's not as many people maybe buy pottery or something. But if you come to Jingdezhen is kind of known as the porcelain capital or the pottery capital, production capital of the entire world. So I think that's the easiest way to make money. Go to go to where the heart is, and then everything else will hopefully fall in place after.
Yeah, sure. So when you first arrived here, I don't know when was that? It's like a year ago, or when did you come to Jingdezhen? And
Last April, about a year and a half now.
yeah, what was your first impression of the city? Like,
Yeah, well,
in addition to the ceramics and the culture.
I've been in probably close to 20 countries around the world, and I've seen ceramics like all over the place. So there's not much culture shock. Like when I go to a place and I see something, I'm like, okay, that's life. That's what they do here. I just roll with the punches, kind of a thing. And then, in Korea, I had many Chinese friends at the university from Hangzhou. I knew a couple people here in Jingdezhen already. So I kind of was like really, really into Jingdezhen much years before I had even come. And we slightly study, Jingdezhen in history, in my art history classes, because Jingdezhen's blue and white is kind of like the first international product that was globally, it was produced, for the Western, it's sent to the Western and sold. So, we kind of learned like those, key points, and then, they had some pictures, and you can kind of see some stuff in the galleries. Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of knew what to expect when I was coming here.
I guess you, as you mentioned, you have traveled to so many countries around the world. I guess you must have the ability to adapt to new environment very quickly.
Yeah, and I think more so, every country, every city, every country has many cities, and within those cities, they all have like something very specific, some type of a culture. Like, in America, California, it's like a completely new world compared to New York City, but it's all still in America. And living in Korea, going to Japan like a bunch of times, I'm kind of used to the hustle and bustle of large cities like throughout like Asia. I've been to like Tokyo a few times, and then I was living in Seoul for 2 years. So I mean, there's electric bikes, running around, 1,000 miles an hour. You gotta watch your hands, and everybody but everything's still convenient. Everything is ran by like an app. If you want a coffee, you just Waimai. In Korea, it's the same thing. They have like their own like Meituan and stuff. Same also in Japan. So I think in the Asian cities, like there's much more convenience, public transportation, getting food, like whatever it may be. Because when I go back to America, I was like, wow, I I felt so difficult. I felt like I was a foreigner again. I was like, how do you guys, I was like, I want a coffee. What do I do? Like, you go to the store and you get it. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, you have to pay by credit card over there, right? But
Yeah,
instead that in China, you just use your mobile phone.
yeah. In Korea too, I always use the mobile phone. Like, like your whole world really comes to an end though, like when it dies, and you're just like, oh man, I gotta get on the bus. Like, what do I do? Then, but then I learned, same here, especially in Jingdezhen. You go to the whatever, like the convenience store or like a shopping mall, and they have the little uh, phone charger. You can just buy the little battery pack, and then you plug it in, and then you can use it. And then when you get to your house, you open the app, and then it tells you the nearest location, and then you just go, you return it back to them. Like, we don't have that in America. That's an amazing thing.
Yeah, sure. So as you said, I think maybe like ceramics or art, in general, that it is something that connects all the culture and all the people from different background. Yeah,
Mm.
and I think that is also what brought people from all over the world to Jingdezhen. So like
Mm.
you guys as a group, we call it Yang Jing Piao, like the foreign expats living
Mm.
in Jingdezhen. So how do
Mm.
you relate to
Yeah.
this identity?
Well, first off, I'm my title is more Lao Wai than Jing
老外,
Piao.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. From a lot of the artists that I know, especially from the like Beijing, I have a couple friends that moved from Beijing. I think one's been here like a few years, and the other's been here about a year. Like they wear the title Jing Piao like it's a badge of honor. I don't know why they're so happy with it, but they got the store. They're like, like, man, wash your Jing Piao. Like they're so happy about it. But I think at the same time, that's from like my understanding, it's bringing people a lot into Jingdezhen. Jingdezhen's a very, very small city. Everybody always say like, you ask somebody where something's at, they're like, oh, it's 20 minutes. Well, yeah, it takes 20 minutes to get across the entire city. Everything is 20 minutes. It's
By
20
walk
minutes.
or you
By car.
by car? Okay, okay.
By car, you can use like Didi or, I think 90% everybody has the e-bike, and you can rent the e-bike on the street, and stuff. In Shanghai, I didn't see it. In Shanghai, they had like the bicycle. I didn't see the electric bike, but here there's 1,000, like so many. But it's a very small city, so they're really trying to make it a much bigger international and a very like global city. And the history already is like, I think, like I said before, like in my art history, China, every province has something so special in relation to ceramics, but unfortunately, we're kind of just showed blue and white Jingdezhen, because of that part in the history, but all the other ones also have such like a great deal of history. So I mean, the city is already really big, but I think maybe more physically big they hope to build. There's a lot of construction and stuff going on in my area, new buildings and new studios, and new shops are always popping up. So I think it's a way to, like the title for the Jing Piao is to get people interested to come and help the city grow. It's a good way, artistic people, many of like, not even just my Beijing friends, but some of the artists that I meet from maybe another country, they all say the same thing. They're just like, wow, like this whole city is like in relation to ceramics, but they're like, it's so much easier to sell here. He's like, people come and they want to actually buy. So yeah, like if you want to buy ceramics, people are told to, go to Jingdezhen. You can buy some really good ceramic ware. So it makes it a little easier to sell, and I think that's why people also would like to come here. The weather is good. Doesn't rain too much. But in the summertime, it's so hot though. Wow, it is. The whole Jiangxi area. It's very, very hot in the summertime.
I'm here based in Beijing, right? So yeah, when people call them 北漂, it literally translates to like Beijing drifter. It's not like they're settled in the city. It means that they are still working hard to maybe try to buy a house here, like in Beijing. And it's like they don't call Beijing home, so that's why they're drifter. So I wonder, what about you? Like, do you feel it's something that's temporary, a place that's temporary for you to live, or it's kind of feels like home sometimes?
No, I mean, my parents were never together actually. They never got married. They had me, so they lived in separate. My father lived on the West Coast. My mother always lived in Oklahoma. So I think because of that, constant going back and forth, I never, I had like a house, but, it was never really like a home because, I technically had two homes. So how can you call two places, one home? So, but, and also growing up and then traveling, I lived after high school, I moved to Germany. And I lived in Germany, like on the border, the Netherlands and Germany. Like my front yard is Germany, backyard is like Netherlands. So like right there on the border. And then, going to Japan multiple times. And then, in Japan, like changing from like hotel to hotel or whatever. Like, yeah, and then in Korea. So I never really, it's always like, what's next? I want to stay in Jingdezhen a long time. But if somebody sent me a message right now and they're like, hey, like I have a studio like in Taiwan or something. They're like, would you want to come for 6 months? Like I would just go. Like that's just the way I've always been. And that's probably why I don't have a home because I don't make good decisions. It's hard to stay in one spot.
Yeah, you can stay flexible. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, but I think maybe the global community in Jingdezhen, like sometimes maybe they can give you a sense of belonging. I saw on media coverage you went to work for volunteering with other young Jing Piao, to help the foreigners coming to Jingdezhen.
Yeah.
So was that something that make you feel there's a sense of belonging to a community?
No, I think it was more of just helping because like when I first when I came to Jingdezhen, I sold everything at my house. Like I have nothing to go home to. Like if I lost my visa right now and I go back to America, I would just sit in the airport. I have nowhere to go. I have nothing. Like I literally, like I had a big sale before I went, and I gave all this stuff to my friends. The other stuff, it went in the trash. So, I was all in, I put in like all my chips and I was like, I'm going to Jingdezhen. I'm going to try to stay, as long as I can. I'll do whatever I can, whatever I have to do, but just, really try to focus on my studio career, and art and 3D printing, really.
Yeah, sure. Belinda, you have been in Jiangxi. You have stayed in Jiangxi for quite a long time. So, what was your impression of Jingdezhen as a Chinese who has been living in the southern part, I guess, in China for most of your life? So, what makes like Jingdezhen stand out in all these Chinese cities?
I grew up in southern cities in Jiangsu province, but I went to university in Beijing and I worked in Beijing. So I have experience both in southern cities and in Beijing, but I haven't traveled to too many Chinese cities. So I can just say what's my impression of Jingdezhen. Let me think. Maybe
it's hot.
It's hot, but Jiangxi province is hot. Let me think. I think paradox. Let me explain. Because Jingdezhen is very, very small. It's the smallest city in Jiangxi province, let alone all of China. So it's a small city, but it's also a very international city. It does amaze me a lot because usually when we refer to a small city, we may think it's left behind in terms of development. But when you come to Jingdezhen, you can see Jingdezhen has artistic vibe about ceramic, and also it welcomes people, artists, travelers, students, or all walks of life from across the world. So it always amazes me a lot. Jing, I have a question for Michael, because I always wonder, I'm a Chinese, so I know Jingdezhen, and you are an expert in ceramic, you study art history, so you know Jingdezhen. But what about ordinary people in the United States or other countries, since you travel to almost 20 countries? What's their opinion about Jingdezhen?
The education that I had like in the university, not saying it was bad, but when you have like a world history class, they try to touch on a little bit of everything, and they only pick certain spots. So when we talk about Asia, and Korea, they'll be like, okay, in Korea they have like the white moon jar. In China they have the blue and white pottery. But that's not true. Jingdezhen has blue and white, but there's so much other stuff. But Jingdezhen its identity is tied to the blue and white. But if you look at like Fujian is also known for having the white porcelain.
I want to jump in because I just went to Dehua. Dehua in Quanzhou. I saw the white porcelain there, and it was quite well. And it's like a whole industry there in Quanzhou. Yeah.
If you want to start a fight between two people, get somebody in Fujian and somebody from Jiangxi in the same room and ask them who made the white porcelain first, and they just go at it. Like they're both. But Jingdezhen, it's not. There are some people who do white, but it's white and the blue. It's the Qinghuasi. That's But China, that's massive, and that was probably my culture shock. I mean, I've seen China on the map, and I know how big it is. But when you actually like in Korea, when I took the train from like Busan to Seoul, it's just a couple hours, and that's the entire country. I take the bullet train from Jingdezhen, and it's like after a couple hours, like I just, I barely make it to Shanghai. I'm like, wow, this place is so big. Yeah, it's very much like in America. It takes like an entire day just to drive in the car across, my state.
Yeah, and you have this time lag even in a single country, right? So 3 hours time difference from California to New York City. So, yeah.
That's always a bit confusing. I'm against it, especially as a little kid. It used to, wow, it drove me crazy. Like, well, we'd always use it as an excuse to go to school late, though, because when the time would shift and we would we would lose an hour. So like the class or something would start, we'd come in like an hour late and be like, oh, like I didn't change my clock. But nowadays, all the clocks, they do it automatic.
Such a pity.
You still use it as an excuse, though. I did in college a couple times.
Yeah, could you describe a typical day like in your life in Jingdezhen? What's a typical day looks like?
I wake up, I go to the studio, I'm there all day, and then I just go back to my room and go to sleep. Wake up, my dorm is maybe like a 5-minute walk to my studio. It's not the same building, but the building like adjacent, like right next to it. So I usually just walk over there, and then I will make like tea, like drink a couple cups of tea, and then I turn on my computer, and then I just start working. Like it's never the same like day. Like sometimes I have to maybe do 3D printing, or some days maybe preparing clay, or if there's another project that I'm working on. But I generally would just stay in the studio all day. If I want to eat lunch, maybe I'll just bring something to the studio.
Do you go to like try different restaurants there?
Yeah, that's
Tried local food, maybe?
yeah. I mean, I sometimes I go out with my friends. I usually cook. I actually have like the rice cooker. I bought a really nice one when I first came. I spent like
Rice cooker from Japan or from
Taobao. I spent like it was like 300 or 400 yuan. That's a really nice one. It's really big. Like you can cook like a whole chicken like inside. But it has like the different layers. So I put like the rice on the bottom and then like whatever vegetable on top. I cook it and then like, a couple spoons.
I'm wondering if you will miss Jingdezhen when you arrive to the next stop, maybe another city, maybe another country. Will you miss Jingdezhen?
Yeah, but I mean not like in a sad way. Like I love my life in Japan. Like similar, like you wake up, I go to the studio, I work, I do my apprentice hours, and then on the way home, I just go to the beach. It's so nice because there's massive beaches everywhere. But I think about it sometimes, and I do miss it. But I think if I had to leave Jingdezhen, it would be the same. Like good memories, some bad memories, but. It's the way life would be. And I think if there was anything that got me out of Jingdezhen, then it must be really, really, really interesting because it got me out of here. Because I think this is so far the best place and the smartest place, I think, for a potter to be. Like, I think I have friends, I tell them all the time, like, why are you not here? Like, it's so much easier to make a living. You can actually do like what you want to do. Like in America, I think owning a pottery business, I don't want to say it's like a waste of time, but at the same time, it's a huge waste of time because, there's not like this like identity linked to American culture, to pottery. Some artists, some guy out there is probably going to freak when he hears me say that, but the newer contemporary potters and stuff, like there is like these large communities and these new ideas and stuff that are building, but it's like we talked about Jingdezhen's history. It's linked to the Chinese, culture and the Chinese identity just for the southern region, and then Fujian has this. So there's. And the way people use them, like, in Japan it's the same way. Like everybody always have handmade pottery. Like when you go to like a restaurant or something, all the bowls were, handmade by some potter that was just down the street. So it's like, it's linked to the identity, like in the way that they still use them. It's not this like, I don't know how to really say, but it's not like this over glamorized, like they're like, oh, like, this is a soup bowl, but it's $5,000 US. Like, no, it's not that. Like, it's a soup bowl. It's $5. It's made to hold soup. So, people can actually, use it for its function. It's not so much as like the name of the person who made it. I think when you think of someone who made it, their name, it should be linked to the quality, not so much as like the design. Like I don't care what something looks like, because if I have like a soup bowl and it's always spilling the soup, then I know that guy didn't make a very good bowl. But if I know this other guy, he makes really good bowls, then I go buy his bowls. Like that's just how I think about it.
Jingdezhen is the best from a like business point of view, right? So like, yeah. I wonder like, well, who are your clients? Do you sell your work to Chinese clients or international clients?
Mostly the Chinese, actually. So at the art residency that I'm at, we have fairs. Like there's twice a year, we have the spring and then the autumn fair, and they invite foreigners from all around the world. Like there's 50 plus countries will all be there. Everybody will bring some pottery. The people who are here already, they're already making pottery, and they will sell. At those events, you can sometimes sell. I think, a lot of the people are more interested to come to, meet people from, different countries or, see, whatever they might have brought from their hometown or what it may be. But in my mind, like the in-between markets that we have every 2 months, those are like the money makers. We make so much money because those are the ones that we get people from like Beijing or Shenzhen, Shanghai, all these places, and they're generally people who own like the chaguan. So they want to come buy, like teacups and tea sets and, vases, like whatever it is that they can take back home and then, sell at their shops. So that's like all my clients that I have. Like I have a couple of clients in Shanghai who do the like a landscaping business or like interior decorating. So they always they're like, do you have like 20 small pots? I'm like, I have like the white one, the black one, and blah. They're like, no. They're like, I just need 20 small. I don't care what they look like. I just need 20 small. Do you have it? Yes or no? And then like I got a lady from Shenzhen. Every time I make like the gaiwan, like the little, the teacups, like I make a set, she's just like, I need like 20 of these. Do you have 20 in your studio? Like I go back to Shenzhen in 2 days, you have them packed, we make the deal, everything's good. So in my mind, those are the best ones because those are the ones that attract more of like the business people. Like they want to get some good stuff to take back to sell. So in those ones, I usually make quite a lot of money. And Jingdezhen, I make a lot of Jingdezhen money. It's different. Here, if you make like 10,000 yuan, like you're good for like a whole year. Like 10,000 will get you, 1 year's rent. But maybe like in Beijing, 10,000 is like you guys make a weekend or something, I think.
Yeah, your clients, when they find you're a foreigner, will they be surprised that like foreigner is making the traditional Chinese art? Will they give you like preferential price maybe sometimes?
Well, you get a little bit of both. And I still remember the very first festival I did. It was, wow, and I was so nervous and I knew it was coming because, all this stuff, like, there's a reason they call them the like masters and, in the different areas, like especially like in like Yixing, the people who make the teapots there, they're perfect. The functionality, the way the water flows, it doesn't dribble down the spout, how it comes out of the spout, everything is balanced and it's in harmony. And for someone like me, like I love this stuff and I'm very interested in it. And I've been, I study like, the science and the mathematics and the dimensions and all this stuff, trying to learn how to make, the perfect like teapot or whatever. And some of the people, they're very happy. They're like, wow, yeah, like the Lao Wai, he made this, like, they're like, wow, this is really cool. They're like, they're very happy. In the other spectrum, they're very happy, but they're very, very critical. They're like, okay, like, pour some water in here. I want to see how well it pours. And then like it pours and they're like, this angle is not correct, or, this lip is not sharp enough. They're like, the quality is very bad. And I'm just like, well, thank you. Have a good day too. I remember I was so nervous because in Jingdezhen, there's so many like masters, and I've done events where I had to work outside. And I make very large, like pots. Like I have a couple pots, like you could stand, like inside. And like they're very big, but, as I'm making them, I can always tell when there's like a master that comes up because they never say anything. But the way they analyze it and the things that they're looking at is something that only a master I know would look at it. And like I start sweating. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, this guy is going to be like, he's just going to tear me apart. And he's going to be like, you kid, like this is horrible. Like, what are you doing? And sometimes they're like, oh no, it's really good. I'm like, I guess it's good for a foreigner, right? But
Yeah, have you worked with the masters? What did you learn from them? Yeah.
Not so much as like a master, because, you know, those guys you have to, it's more of apprenticing. Like in Japan, I worked with the master. Like I sat side by side and, you know, and we worked. And in Japan, it's really different. Not all the areas, but, you know, some of the areas, I think, like the Kyushu area is really known for. And then in Okinawa is the same. Like they don't really teach you. Like you just have to observe. And, you know, and you have to just do like what they do. You have to learn to like shadow, you know, do everything that they do, mimicking. And then you have to really pay attention to like what they do. And then, you know, sometimes they'll give you some guidance on something. And then he's just like, okay, like go make like 100. And then I check them. And then he's just like, they're okay. They could be better. And I'm like, what can I do to make it better? He's like, just keep practicing. Like, so, you know, and here in Jingdezhen, it's not so much working with masters, but, you know, it's quite easy to find somebody who knows something. Before I came here, I knew many, many people, and I had many friends, and then some of them have been teaching me how to do, you know, how to make like the qinghua, like how to prepare the cobalt, you know, and it's very, like, it's not as extensive as some other like processes, but, you know, they teach me how to, you know, mixing the peach gum, and then, you know, it's very Chinese, by the way. Like you don't use water, like you use water to mix it, but they always use the red tea, like the hongcha. So the day before you prepare your cobalt for painting, like you would prepare some tea, and then you would just let the tea set overnight, and it kind of helps, like, it makes your lines like a little bit more crisp instead of using just like regular water. But that's something that you kind of have to just, you know, you have to learn from somebody who knows the painting. So I have a couple friends who do painting. They have studios, you know, and I teach them something. Like I taught my friend how to do wheel throwing because he didn't know, and then he taught me how to prepare my cobalt after. So it's not so much as like an apprenticeship. It's more of just like a give and take kind of a relationship, like just a friendship, I guess. I was like, you know, I know something you want to know, and you know something I want to know. Let's just help each other out.
I think Michael maybe is a little bit modest because I know he's a master of 3D printer, right? Yeah.
I'm only a master of 3D printing because nobody else do. You know, when I studied in Korea, I studied very traditional. Like I learned to make the ongi. The ongi is the name of the style. It's the name of the pots. It's the name of the clay. It's just ongi, and that's what they use to store food. If you ever go to Korea, you'll see everywhere. But nowadays, you know, production factories have taken over, and they shut down the majority of people who know how to make them by hand. And then also at the same time, it's a very traditional kind of way of a life. But, you know, nowadays people don't have to buy, you know, 100 kg of kimchi like to last through the winter time. When you want to buy some kimchi, you just go buy some couple 100 grams at the market. You know, it's already fresh. It's good to eat. So there's not really this need so much. And so that's when it really inspired me to learn it. So then I was like, okay, I can learn this technique, and I can help keep it alive. I can, you know, teach it back in America. You know, I teach it here actually in China. I've had multiple classes. China also has a very similar style, you know, but I wanted to do that. So that's why I focused very much on the tradition. And then after I went back to America, I was, you know, working in the pottery studio. I was just thinking one day about tools, because in Korea we have all these little tools, and I was like, it'd be cool to get like a 3D printer, and then I can just 3D print the tools, and I could sell them like on Amazon or Etsy or something and make some good money. So I was like, well, let's do that. So then I bought a really cheap 3D printer, and then, you know, I wanted to, you know, kind of go away from traditional, but keeping like, the feeling and, my identity with the traditional, but start to go more with like experimental like technology and tools and stuff. And then like, I don't even know why I got into clay printing, because, honestly, I hated it. I thought it was the dumbest thing. I seen it when I was in Korea, and I was like, this is so dumb. I was like, why would anybody waste their time with this? This is the dumbest thing I've seen. And I would just like walk away. I didn't even give it 2 looks. And then I brought my Ender, which is a Chinese based company for 3D printing. And I still have it. It's in my studio right now. It still goes every day. It's heavily modified now. It's only the spirit within is like the original Ender. But so I don't remember what happened. Like my friend said something about clay printing, and I was like, well, I was like, I got a 3D printer. I was like, I can just 3D print one. And then from there, like it just spent hours learning. There's like websites you can go, and there's all these open source ideas and things you could print in 3D printers. And then eventually I ended up getting into CAD design. So then all my printers now I 100% like I design them like myself. I do all the coding, like all the components, everything is, I make it on my iPad and a CAD design, and then I 3D print it, and then I construct the machine and, modifying and changing like as I need. But I remember there was a point before I came to Jingdezhen, about a year before I came to Jingdezhen, and I had just finished building my first clay printer, and well, it was a hot mess. Like it was leaking clay everywhere, it was jamming up, and I got a couple good prints out of it. And I told myself, my friend was there, and I was like, today is the day. I have to decide. I've invested so much time. If I invest any more time in this printer, I have to go 100%. Like this has to be what I do. I was like, or right now today, I throw everything away and I don't look back. And then I just ended up saying, I was like, screw it. I'll keep doing it, because I had a couple ideas. So then I just stuck with the 3D printing, and now I'm a few years in, and I've invested all my money, so I can't really quit now. If I quit now, it would be a horrible mistake. It would be so much time and money wasted. But I really do like enjoy it, and I teach classes, and I try to get people to also to kind of enjoy it. But I think, and I tell all my students this, like I don't mean it like in a very bad way, but I tell them like what I just told you, like you have to decide whether or not you're going to go 100% in or not, because it's not something that you can kind of like tinker with, like in a little bit here and there. Like you kind of can, but I think it's the way the technology is, and then like the stuff that you can make, like you need to really focus like on it. And like, especially the past 6 months, that's what I'm doing. Because even when I came here to Jingdezhen, like, everything's, handmade, and I was started to make in the big ongi pots and stuff. And I kind of felt I was going away from the printing again. And that was not what I wanted to do. I was like, wait. And I remember it was like last December, I was sitting in my room and I was like, what am I doing? I was like, I'm losing my focus or something. So I started to 3D print like all my tools. So like the traditional Korean tools, the shaping tools, and I started to design like my own tools. So I was like, well, at least if I'm making the big pots, I can still incorporate more of the somewhat 3D printing. But I really wanted to go with just the clay printing, sticking 100% with it. And then and then I think from like this year on, I've done probably the most with like the clay printing and really trying to focus on what I'm doing with it. And I've created a couple new machines. One of the machines kind of got me, I think it kind of got me noticed. I don't know. Everybody really likes it. I hate it because I understand how big of a pain the machine is to get to work. When it works, everybody's like, wow, it's amazing. I'm like, you should have been here like 6 hours ago when I was screaming and crying because it wasn't working. But that machine kind of helped me get into the university that I'll be starting soon. So
Yeah, I can feel you have deep passion like for 3D printing. And how is the 3D printing techniques adding to the competitiveness of your ceramic works? Could you give me an example of um, the uniqueness of the work that uses this 3D printing technology?
yeah, I think for me, the way I'm trying to do is because here in Jingdezhen, people have a very strong open mind, and this is what also shocked me quite a lot. Because in America, wow, 3D printing, it's like 3D printing with clay. It's like very taboo. Like you don't tell people you do it. It's like you keep the printer in your closet. And so when I think about the way I do mine, like I try to do it in a way that people don't think it's 3D printing, because so much of the stuff, it looks so similar, like the way like the texture lines and like the path that it follows. So I tried to come up with new, like with the textures that I can add, or a way of like modifying it, or like some of the teapots that I'm working on now, like we print the body but then hand build the lid or handles and the spout, and, so you can kind of like cut and alter your 3D print. So I'm mixing some ideas of like hand building with the 3D printing, not solely 100%, just click print and then, add prints and then dry it and then glaze it and fire it in the kiln kind of stuff. Which there's nothing wrong with that. Like there's some really amazing artists who make some amazing work.
A lot of competition, I guess, in Jingdezhen. So I wonder, how do you market your work?
Honestly, I just use my face. It's I have the foreigner face, like it helps. But I think the majority of the stuff that I have sold in the past, it's mostly the pots, and a lot of like some of like the large pots is what the people are into. And it's more of just, it's the supply and demand. It's, working at these markets, you just have to wait for that person, because there's always that person who's from another city that they come there that day. They're like, okay, I need 30 of this and I need 20 of this. My shipping budget is this. So you kind of have to find the businessmen, I guess, technically they're also businessmen. So you just have to wait for them to come around, and then, you can promote a little bit on social media. Like I don't have too much, mostly just make friends on social media. But I had a couple people come to my past booths just to kind of see some of the stuff that they had seen before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was in Quanzhou, in Dehua, the place that makes the white ceramics, and they have this like industrial park, where they have the studios for people to live stream the ceramics to people all over the world. They are on like Chinese social media. They are also on TikTok, so they can sell like directly to overseas buyers. Yeah, maybe you can consider live streaming using your face, as you said. Live streaming.
Well,
I have some friends who have done it. Like maybe like I had one friend who did live streaming. I usually actually just help with some of my friends on their live stream, or like I got a friend who has the Longyao, like the dragon kiln. It's a very massive, like traditional wood firing kiln, and they pack it full of the blue and white. And whenever he's unloading it, like we will go there, and then there's like 5 or 6 rows of like 3 or 4 tables like long, and then they just like go all the way back, and there's all these like the Douyin and like the Xiaohongshu, like all the live streamers are always there, and they're just like, and the lights are like, bah, 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 bah. And as soon as it comes out of the kiln, like they open it like out of the sagger, and it's like still hot, and they're like fumbling it around, and they're like trying to hold it like, and sell it like on Douyin and stuff, and then somebody will buy it right there, and then they just wrap it while it's still hot, and they put it in the box, and then stack it off to the side to ship it later. Like you see that quite often here all the time. Like there's a lady that's actually outside like my dorm. She's live streaming every single morning. There's like this pond. Every morning I go out there. It's 7 days a week. She's always there, rain or shine. She's just sitting there, like just pop, just talking away.
I think maybe in Jingdezhen, some live streamers, they don't make ceramic by themselves, but they help these artists sell their works through Xiaohongshu or Douyin. They are the professional live streamer. They walk along the street. Every Friday evening, there's a market selling ceramic box. Do you still go to such markets?
Yeah. I help my friends to run the booth. And yeah, you're right. The live streamers always come by, and then they take like just a percentage, obviously, of whatever it is they sell. But when they come by, like, yeah, if they want to sell at your booth, they sell really good, like really good.
Yeah, they walk along the street and they help the shoppers sell their works. So I think there's some professional live streamers here in Jingdezhen.
Yeah, quite a lot.
You learn every day in China, right? So in general, I wonder how has living in China changed your perspective on art and creativity?
And I love how here, people, like I tell everybody, I was like, my dog could be an artist. I can put a paintbrush on my dog's tail and she is an artist. But people here in Jingdezhen can spend their entire life studying a craft and never become a master craftsman because it's so much more difficult to get to that level of perfection and understanding of the form and the shape and just all the elements of everything. And that's what drives me to become better. That's why I say, like, when the craftsmen come in, they check out my booth or something, like, wow, it's very, wow, like even thinking about it gets me all just so nervous, and I'm just like, wow, like this guy, he's at the level that I wish that I could be, but they put in the time and the effort, and they're always still learning and trying to reach more. And I think that's what's the best about like Asian like craft and arts. Like there's a different type of understanding of the form, and not so much as just hoping for some random beauty or something. Like I literally learned something like every single day. Like even like yesterday, like I learned like a height with the extrusion and like what works better, and then I can kind of then start to replicate it, because when the 3D printing, the thing that my students, they always struggle with, and it's very difficult, but when you start a print, it has to go down to the surface to start printing. But sometimes we print on these little like wooden like a wooden board, and sometimes the wooden board is like, it's a little like bent, or it's not as thick as the next one. They're not all the same. They're all very different. They the shape may be circular, but it's not 100% the same. And like, so when you start to print, sometimes like one of your prints, like it'll be perfect. The whole bottom layer is perfect, smooth. Everything's the same layer height, and that's great. So you take that one off, and then you put the next board on, and then it just goes all. It's horrible. Like it's too low or it's too high, and then my students, they don't know like what to do. But I kind of realized yesterday like how easy. Like I realized that maybe I already knew how to just adjust the height like in my code just a little bit, and now it just works all the time. So it takes like 2 seconds. So I don't know, maybe I am a master now. I don't know. But yeah, but that's something that I learned yesterday. So every day you have to, I think if you're actually pursuing, you're going to learn something. If you're just sitting there, you're not going to learn anything.
Yeah, sure. So, how do you envision the future of ceramic art evolving with technology?
I don't think actually so much. I think we will have like the 3D printing and, not even so much 3D printing with just clay, but, now like I have some parts in my studio that are 3D printed out of metal. I have a friend who's from Shanghai, but he was studying in Australia at the university, and they were 3D printing the coral reef, underneath in the water. So I think, and here in Jingdezhen, people that are even printing with the clay, there's a guy who prints with dry clay. We always use the wet clay, but he created this machine, so he puts in the dry clay and then it mixes the water and stuff, and with the dry clay as it's going through the extruder. It's really, really cool, genius idea. So I mean, there's people that are creating these new things, but I also think at the same time that there will always be like these traditional ideas in relation to ceramics, because even though we have such good, AI can create some really cool stuff with like the clay 3D printing. I play with DeepSeek like all the time, just like there's so much like cool stuff you can do, but at the same time, you have all these people that are like, oh, like if it's not touched only by hands, like that's not good pottery, like I don't want that. So I think we'll stay the same as where it is now, but we'll just have more added on to it.
Do you have any suggestions for artists who want to come to Jingdezhen?
I mean, like with the program that I do, and the reason why I was doing the volunteer work is because, when I came, I had so many questions and there was nobody to really answer. And then that's when I became friends with Mr. Lee, who's the immigration officer, and he's the one that I work with, like in the program. So I think, the thing that I always tell everybody, like I just go straight up, like honest with them. I'm like, if you want to stay here, I was like, just stay here. Like there's many opportunities. Like we can get you like, you can apply for entrepreneur visa and or there's some art residencies around that you might be able to work at, but I think that's a waste because there's so many opportunities to create a business. But if you want to stay and you want to get the entrepreneur visa, you have to work hard. It's like you said with the, it's not going to be your home, so there's no place to really fall safe back on. So every day is a grind. Like you have to just keep doing it. And if you're okay with that, then yeah, I think it's a great place to come to. You can make a home here, but it's not here waiting for you. You have to figure out how to make one.
So you have to make money by your works. You can't just make art for the art's sake.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be like contributing. I mean, but you can still make like art. I got a friend, Ryan Labar. He's also from America. He's been here for about 10 years. And wow, he makes so much money. Like he has I don't think he has an entrepreneur visa anymore. Like I think he's been here long enough. He has just like the straight, like a business visa. But yeah, he makes kind of art for art's sake, but he's got the name to go with it. So he can get away with that. If you're new, it's not so easy. We actually have to work.
Yeah, you definitely have made so many Chinese friends, as you mentioned.
Chinese people are very nice and very open. Yeah, very, very, very friendly. Like, before I even came to Jingdezhen, I had so many friends that I knew, and now some of them I hang out with. I see them on a weekly basis. I have friends all across this country that, I still haven't met because, I've only been in Jingdezhen. I went to Shanghai for just a couple of days, see my father when he was visiting. But, yeah, everybody's very open. And then, if you speak a little bit of Chinese, it goes a long way. And I meet a lot of foreigners and they're great. I'm not saying any of them are bad. I have a lot of friends that are foreigners also, but they always struggle with I don't know. They always have like these culture boundaries, and like the Chinese level, it terrifies them. Like I've met some people. I'm like, oh, when did you arrive? They're like, 30 minutes ago. And did you know everybody speaks Chinese? I'm like, well, yeah. Like we're in China. What do you think they spoke? like what? I don't know. Why are you so scared? So I think, because I had a little bit of language but also, many Chinese friends in the past that, I've known for so many years. I don't see like that, those boundaries. Like, yeah, sometimes it's very difficult. The older generations, like, if I go walking, like sometimes like, like the yeye will come up to me, starts talking. I'm like, man, I don't know what you're saying. Like in the Jingdezhen, like they have like their own like dialect as well. Cause I even have some friends, and then like, one day we were out somewhere and like this old couple came up to us and they were like talking and they needed help with something, and I asked my friend, I was like, wait, what did they say? He's like, I don't even know. He's like, that's what I told him. I told him I couldn't help him. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, a lot of diversity, I guess, in terms of language and the culture in Jingdezhen. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, if you could describe Jingdezhen experience in 3 words, what would they be? That will be my final question for you.
3 words?
Yeah, 3 words.
I'm not like really, really hot. Like that's not 3 words. No, I mean, for me, happy, because, every day I'm quite happy. Business kind of stresses you out, but most of the time I'm very happy here. Like it's a really wonderful place. I think beautiful also, because there's still a lot of nature here, because like we said before, it's a very small city. There's a lot of places we go fishing, and rivers and waterfalls. Like, it's not all just blue and white pottery here. Like there's other culture aspects to Jingdezhen. So I may be happy, beautiful, and old. Everything's so old. So much old stuff.
Old represents tradition.
Just tradition, but like just old. Like, cause there's part of the city you go to, and it's like, wow. It's like I feel like this is some of the the stuff that I read about in my history books. Like, not because Jingdezhen, like I said, there's a lot of construction that's going on, but there's still some stuff there's a lot of areas that have been preserved, but then there's also just some spots that it's just Jingdezhen, and I don't mean old as like in a bad way, but I mean it's just you can tell this whole city, it's been around for a long time, and it's going to be around for a much longer time.
Yeah, cool. So, Belinda, do you have any suggestions for foreigners coming to this city? Do you have any recommendations of places they can visit? Not just Jingdezhen, maybe outside, like nearby neighboring cities they can visit?
Actually, there's China Travel, they have some visa policy. I think it's 240 hours for those foreigners. They can travel to China visa free, right?
Yeah, you can travel into, I think the biggest port is the Nanchang airport.
Yeah, you can travel to Nanchang and Jingdezhen in Jiangxi province. And maybe my suggestion is about food, because Jiangxi dishes are quite spicy. Can you handle spicy food, Yolanda?
Yolanda, I like spicy food.
Yeah, me too. I can handle spicy food myself, so I like it really. But some people cannot handle spicy food, so maybe they can try some sweet snacks in Jingdezhen, like a kind of rice cakes wrapped in the hot fried tough sticks. Have you tried it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 油条包麻糍.
Wow,
Yeah.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, so the hot duff sticks melt with the rice cakes, but it's still very chewy. Maybe it it has high calorie, but not so healthy, but it will make you happy.
It's okay, it's hot, you'll sweat it out.
Yeah, so that's my recommendation.
Okay, thank you. And that perfectly ends our conversation about Jingdezhen. Jingdezhen is truly special, a place where the centuries-old flames of ceramic art still burn, fueled now by new technologies that spark innovation. It's where tradition doesn't just survive, but evolves through the hands of artists like Michael in the city's vibrant global community of creators. Thank you, Michael, for sharing your journey as a young Jing Piao, and thank you, Belinda. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And to our listeners, if you're fascinated by the intersection of tradition and innovation, we encourage you to explore Jingdezhen, whether in person or through the beautiful works created there. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe to Trending in China on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, or Little Universe, 小宇宙. So see you next time. Bye bye.